Never give anybody your power. Because the moment somebody realizes they can control how you feel, how you move, what you tolerate, or the decisions you make based on their reaction to you, they have way too much power in your life. And people will use it. Not everybody, but there are people who will figure out what makes you fold, what makes you chase, what makes you feel guilty, what makes you afraid they're going to leave. And once they realize that thing moves you, they'll keep pressing that same button. That's what giving your power away looks like. Your power is your ability to remain in control of you, your decisions, your boundaries, your judgment, your ability to trust what you see without somebody constantly talking you out of it. And one of the biggest mistakes people make is thinking somebody has to actually control you to have power over you. They don't. Sometimes they just make the consequences of not doing what they want uncomfortable enough that eventually you start managing yourself around their reactions. They don't have to say, "You can't tell me no." They just make your no so exhausting that eventually you stop saying it. And now they don't have to control you. You're controlling yourself for them. That's the part that people miss. You see, they learn what moves you. If silence makes you panic, silence has power. If them pulling away makes you chase, pulling away has power. If guilt changes your answer, then the guilt has power. And if somebody threatening to leave makes you throw every boundary you had out the window just to keep them, now leaving has power over you. That's why you have to know your own buttons. What makes you abandon yourself? What makes you start proving your worth? What makes you say yes when you mean no? And what are you so afraid of losing that you'll start losing pieces of yourself just to keep it? Because you cannot be so afraid of losing somebody that you're willing to lose yourself just to keep them. And I don't care how much you love them. That's too expensive. And sometimes it looks very normal. You know that you want to say no, but you say yes because you don't want the attitude. You know something doesn't feel right, but somebody keeps telling you you're overreacting. So eventually you start questioning yourself. Or before you make a decision, your first thought is, what are they going to say? Not, what do I think? That's when you need to pay attention. And I'm not telling you not to consider people. If you're in a relationship, of course, you consider your partner, but consideration is not control. Compromise doesn't mean you always give in. Love doesn't mean you don't get to have boundaries. And respect doesn't mean another person becomes the authority over you. And this happens in families too, in friendships and in work, hell, even in social media. Somebody you've never met can leave one comment, go on about their entire day, and you're still mad 3 hours later. Why does somebody who doesn't even know you have that much access to you? That's power too. You see, somebody being upset with you does not automatically mean you did something wrong. And that's something that a lot of people need to learn. Somebody not liking your boundary doesn't automatically make your boundary unfair. Now, sometimes you're wrong. Look at yourself when you're wrong. But sometimes people are uncomfortable because you stopped doing what worked for them. That's different. And if somebody benefited from you always saying yes, they're probably not going to love your no. If they could guilt trip you into changing your mind before and suddenly they can't, they're going to notice. And that's when you start hearing that you've changed. And maybe I did. Maybe I learned. Maybe something that used to work on me doesn't work anymore. And sometimes that's how you find out what a relationship was actually built on. Because if me having boundaries destroys the relationship, what was holding it together before? If me saying no becomes a huge problem, was I ever really allowed to say no? If me thinking for myself makes me difficult, did you even love me? Or did you love the version of me that was easier for you? There's a difference. And that realization right there will tell you a whole lot. You start moving differently. That's it. You don't need an announcement. You don't have to tell anybody, I'm taking my power back. Just do it. Say no when you mean no. Stop explaining every decision 15 different ways. Let people have their feelings without automatically making their feelings your responsibility to fix. Trust what you see. Get advice when you need it, but stop asking everybody what you should do before you've even asked yourself. And stop telling everybody every move you're about to make. Sometimes you need to sit with your own thoughts long enough to figure out what you actually think. Because some people know exactly what they want until they ask 10 other people. Now you're confused. You see, everybody doesn't need access to your plans. Everybody doesn't need access to your thoughts. And everybody definitely doesn't need access to every decision you're thinking about making. Sometimes power is moving quietly. And this is exactly why Phoenix from Stability to Power fits this conversation. Because there's a point after survival where you have to learn how to become powerful in your own life again. How do you trust yourself? How do you stop repeating the same patterns? How do you stop handing other people authority that belongs to you? That's part of what Phoenix is about. And I'll have it linked below if that's where you are in your journey. You see, real power isn't controlling other people. Sometimes real power is just no and leaving it there. Sometimes it's walking away from something you really wanted because you realized keeping it was costing you too much of yourself. Sometimes it's allowing somebody to misunderstand you because you've already explained yourself. And sometimes it's recognizing that somebody is trying to get a reaction out of you and deciding you don't get that kind of access to me. That's power. And ultimately, I don't want you leaving this video thinking everybody is trying to control you. That's not the point. I want you asking, where am I giving my power away? Where am I afraid to say no? Whose disappointment controls me? Where do I keep explaining myself because I need somebody to agree with me? What am I so afraid of losing that I'm willing to lose myself to keep it? Because once you see it, now you can do something about it. Maybe somebody manipulated you. Maybe somebody used your love against you. Maybe somebody figured out exactly what button to push. Okay, now you know. So what are you going to do with what you know? That's where the power comes in. What did you learn? What are you never tolerating again? What will you recognize faster next time? What boundary exists now that didn't exist before? Because if you can take something that once made you feel powerless and turn it into wisdom that protects you going forward, that's power. Not bitter, not scared of everybody, not walking around thinking everybody is out to get you, just wiser. You can still love people. You can trust people who have shown themselves trustworthy. You can compromise. You can listen, but never become so afraid of losing another person that you start losing yourself trying to keep them. And if you realize you've already given some of your power away, take it back. Quietly. No revenge, no big announcement. Just start moving differently. Start trusting yourself again. Start honoring your own no. And stop allowing somebody else's reaction to determine your direction. Your life belongs to you. Now move like it. Peace, blessings, love, and power.